thank you for joining. Today, we're going to talk about the media opportunities as we see it in Indonesia. And the reason why we think Indonesia is exciting is because you're dealing with, over 17,000 islands, a population of 270 million, a Gen Y and a Gen Z, vibrant, younger, dynamic population. That's over 60% of the total populace. The millennials, people born after the year 2000, are actually 32, 33% of the population, a third, let's say. You're dealing with a smartphone subscription of 273 million. Of that, 170 million are active social media subscribers. You'll find, for example, with a little bit of research, that Jakarta is the world's largest Twitter hub in the world. I did not know that, but the other things that are exciting is this generation is born in the cloud and mobile native. There's no legacy. Everything that we're going to be talking about today is cloud native and consumed on a mobile device, more or less. That's why Ollie's Cloud is here. That's why their delegates are here. But for the media industry itself, I mean, you're dealing with content creation, aggregation, distribution, all the way down to the interface. All of this is being disaggregated. There's going to be lots of different stakeholders involved, lots of opportunities for startups, and you're dealing with a country that we're seeing where media was traditionally centrally controlled to something that's more around user-generated content, which makes it quite exciting. And of the markets to look at in Indonesia, from our perspective, is in the Asia region is Indonesia, alongside India and China. It really ranks up there as a very fascinating market to look at if you're interested in cloud native and born in the cloud dynamics. So I'll go through our different panelists, but if you don't mind, I will start with Alfie Amir, my colleague. Can you tell us a little bit about the Indonesian media and internet landscape? What excites you about it? What are the trends you're seeing? And before you do that, just a quick introduction, Alfie, to yourself.
Thank you, Dustin. Yeah. Hello everyone. I'm Alfie Amir, Principal Analyst from GlobalData, leading the ASEAN ICT research. So back to the question, the media and internet market in Indonesia is indeed very exciting. Indonesia, as we know, is very well known for various unicorns, such as Gojek and Tokopedia, that have been merged into GoTo. And there are also other well-known startups, such as Traveloka, Bukalapak, as well as many other fast-growing ones with innovative ideas, such as NovelMe and InvestOval. In Indonesia, as we know, as shared by Dustin earlier, users are largely born mobile or mobile first. And there is also a very high adoption of social media. There is a changing landscape in the content segment, and there is a very fast-growing e-commerce sector, and which I will cover this a little bit further after this. But let's first look at the definition, because media and internet can be very broad. So based on GlobalData taxonomy, the main components within media and internet are e-commerce, social media, and content. But before we get further into this, let's look at the state of internet in Indonesia, because internet is the key enabler and key driver of e-commerce, social media, and content. If you look at the mobile internet penetration, the number was at 74%. There was a huge increase in mobile internet penetration in the last 2 years, driven by the wider need to access applications during lockdowns. But compared with other countries, the penetration is still slightly lower than the regional average. Most other countries, they have reached the 80% mark. This also means there is still room for growth in mobile internet users in Indonesia. And if you look at the fixed broadband, the household penetration was only at 18%. This is pretty low compared to other countries in the region as well. So what we can conclude here from the very high mobile internet penetration and low fixed broadband adoption, it shows that in Indonesia, the mobile internet users have significantly leapfrogged the fixed broadband. This also shows and validates what Dustin shared earlier, that Indonesia is a mobile-first country, because in most cases, mobile is the only option that they have to access the internet. Now, going back to the media, I'll start with the content landscape in Indonesia. The TV or content sector is, as we know, undergoing a huge change, because the market is moving from the direct to the home, the DTH, such as the cable and satellite TV, to the subscription video on demand, or we call it SVOD. There was a steady decline of DTH, whereas there is a rapid increase in SVOD, especially through mobile devices. The SVOD subscribers increased by 2 to 3 folds every year in the last few years. And we can see as well the incumbent DTH providers are expanding their focus on the streaming market. For example, MNC Vision with Vision Plus. And we can see the change in that landscape where Telkomsel is taking a lead in this segment with its very wide partnership with various content providers such as Disney Plus, Amazon Prime, and HBO, and even the MNC Vision. And we can also see that YouTube is very huge in the country. It is the top, or not one of the top, social media and content streaming platforms in Indonesia. So from here, we can see that the cord-cutting phenomena is really happening in the country. And next, if you look at the second component, the social media, if you look at the users, the population, more than half of the Indonesian population are active social media users. And interestingly as well, 90% of them access the applications only through their mobile phones. And this again relates to the mobile first that Dustin shared earlier. And if you look at the top social media platforms in Indonesia, they are YouTube, WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And of course, we have TikTok growing as well, very fast, and made it in the top 10. If you look at the list, it's nothing new. The top 5 list, we can expect to see this in many other countries as well. But what is interesting here is the Facebook and Instagram have about the same users and same usage in the country. What does it mean? That shows that there is a high percentage of younger generation mobile users in the country, because Instagram users, as we know, they are usually used by younger generation, whereas Facebook is more by the older one. Another interesting trend that we see in Indonesia on social media is 2/3 of Indonesians use social media for work purpose. I mean, like, we know using social media for advertising and branding is not uncommon, but Indonesian enterprises are taking it to the next level. They're using the platforms as their primary tools and sometimes the only channels for their business activities such as marketing and customer supports. So in short, if you look at all the trends here, Indonesia is a unique market. A lot of things are happening. And what's interesting as well, there is a lot of potential of internet and media in the Indonesian market. Over back to
Alfie,
you, Dustin.
that was really a mouthful. I mean, if we're going to write a business plan for a market entry strategy, I think we just got it in the last 5-6 minutes there. So, Aji, I'm going to ask you a question here. Can you tell us a little bit about the challenges in information sharing that's going on in media, and how do the media companies address this issue? And before you do that, Aji, can you also give us a brief background about yourself and your company?
Okay, so I'm Aji. I'm from NovelMe. I'm representing NovelMe. So NovelMe is a platform to write and to read novels. So as we know, we want everybody to write novels, not just the famous writers, but all of the Indonesian can also write and read novels. So as you know, Indonesia is an island country with consists of 17,000 islands, and a lot of them are scattered. And in between there are a lot of seas, a lot of waters, and the challenges are, the first one, the biggest one, maybe the demography. So for this one, the demography is very scattered, and this is the basic, maybe the most challenging part of other thing like infrastructure. So the infrastructure for now is mostly is in Java Islands, or is mostly is Java centric. So most when we are saying about novels, maybe the traditional way of a novel is printing. So when we're doing printing, we need the printing business and the buyers. So most of it still in Java Island. So the printing is not is still centralized. This is the difficulty. So when we want to deliver to other parts of Indonesia, it becomes challenge. So the next challenge is logistics. So if there's someone to print, but nobody to deliver the printing stuff, the one that can be read, that nobody will read. And when there's nobody buying and nobody reading, then nobody wants to write. That's the worst part. And yeah, when this goes online, and when this goes into the smartphone, this smartphone and internet can solve many things that traditional business cannot do, like what I said earlier, like the logistics and the demography that that separates people with other people, and separate business with the consumers. I think that's the biggest challenge in Indonesia for now.
And so through the use of the smartphone, what I'm also hearing is this is actually allowing media companies to help facilitate information sharing. Media companies like yourself, would that be accurate?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the era of the smartphone is helping a lot for information sharing in Indonesia.
Yep. Great. And Eric, same question to you, the challenges that you see in information sharing, and how do media companies address those challenges? And likewise, can you give us a brief introduction to yourself?
Yeah, hey, thanks, Dustin, for creations. Yeah, so basically, I'm Eric. Yeah, I'm a solutions architect from Alibaba Clouds, and I'm focusing in media industries and gaming customers. So yeah, let me share a little bit on based on my experience, because we've been around and we're meeting with numbers of customers, especially in the media and gaming, and some of them are mentioned by Alfie. Yeah, part of our customers. So yeah, I have some insights of what kind of challenges and what kind of expectations from the customers and how they're going to solve it, right? The first thing first, right? I'm talking in the forms of generals. In general, it's not specific to the companies, but it's more towards generals, media industries company, right? Which focusing. It could be a portals, news portals, right? Could be a streamings or a televisions, broadcastings, right? Or any kind of media like book developers or distributors or some things like that. Yeah. First thing first is when we talk about of course now the trend is going to digitals, right? Everything is going to digital. So, well, the old ways has been passed away already, right? So when it comes to the digitalizations, right, the first thing first that they will think about is infrastructure. Yeah, well, they will think that okay, everybody needs a home, right? Where they put their systems, especially their data and their sources, right? Whatever they have, their assets, right? So the first thing first, they will need these infrastructures, right? Where they're going to put in digitalizations. Yes, it's talking about the platforms, right? They need somewhere to put their platforms to serve the customers, because all the services, running on there, right? So the customer can access that. Right. First thing is where they want to put the platform in, right? And then secondly, right, it comes to the options. Whether they want to build their own, yes, they do have that options, right? With all the costs that they can calculate themselves, they can do research, or they can have using a third-party services, right, which is already available in the markets, right? Then the next thing is that it comes to another option is about whether they want to put it locally or they want to put it overseas, right? It's all come back again. It depends on their markets, right? They want to focus on the local markets or they want to focus on international markets. Of course, everybody wants to go international in the end, right? But they can start from somewhere, right? So flexibility is one key point here, right? That we need to address in the end, right? Another things that need to be considered in terms of infrastructure, we are talking about availability, right? We don't want the customers to have a bad experience. I am accessing your service, but it's on and off, right? But at the end of that, when we talk about availability, it comes to cost, right? We want to have something available, but at the lower point of costs, right? The thing is that another thing that factors in is very important is the speed to markets. You want to win the competitions, right? You want get into the market as quickly as possible, right? Before the other competitors come in and then they become number one, right? So when you become number two, it's hard to catch up sometimes, right? And then flexibility. One day you will change because you are probably startups. It could be startups. Even you are not startups. The flexibility is very important, right? And then the last is scalability. You will grow, and you want something that you can scale your environments, right? The next thing is that to consider is about when you talk about how to reach the audience, right? Like IG last time, I did mention that last time everybody used a book, right? Hard copies on everything. But now when it comes to digitalizations, right? Internet probably is the best, right? So you want to have a good internet access, and you want to be able to reach your audience, not just within or the audience that close to your where your asset is, but you want reach the audience even in the remote area, which is pretty far, which is they have a slow internet access, right? But you need some solutions, right, to solve that. So this is one of the challenges as well, right? And then now the next thing is that it's very important is that getting to the right target audience, right? You want make sure that your audience is the right person, right? They are probably good readers. They're interested in marketing. They're interested in economics. They're interested in celebrities or whatever, or they're interested in novels, right? Just one examples here, right? You want to make sure that the audience is correct, right? The next thing is that when you know that, okay, the interest is right, is correct, but the topic, is it true? The topic is really fits to them, right? You want to make sure that this information is being delivered to the right persons, and you want to show them that, hey, this is really the topic they are interested in. Because if you send them like a wrong topics, different topics, the customers will feel annoyed, or probably they will think you are a spams, right? So right topics, right audience, right? And the last thing is that when it comes to when you grow the markets, right? Once you grow up, when you talk about competitions, right? This is the challenge as well. Hey, our competitors know what is the trend in the markets, know what's the interest of their customers, so they can make a better decisions, right? So these are the challenges, right, that happenings in all these media industries that we need to challenge, right?
That's interesting. It sounds like a Rubik's Cube. As soon as you solve one side, you get all the colors the right color, you get the 5 sides to deal with, I heard speed, flexibility, scalability, the end user experience, and making sure your content hits the right eyeballs, the right time. And that speaks to maybe AI and hyper-personalization. And you also have to not only think about the internet, but the distribution of content, the content distribution network, to get it from one location to the next, and do it in a way that's acceptable. And then flexibility is, you need to swap in and out technology as your business grows. You might have a requirement to go overseas, and that might mean different vendors or different architectures. So yeah, lots to definitely think about. Thank you, Eric. Danny, just a question for you now. How is digital media and social media shaping and influencing the society and opinion and voice inside the market? And before you answer that question, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
All right, thank you. My name is Danny. I'm the co-founder and chief operating officer of Oval. We are a finance and investment focused social media platform that aims to connect beginner investors with financial key opinion leaders, influencers, and experts in mission to help them interact, prepare, and elevate their investment knowledge. So I think going back to your question, primarily, I think digital media and social media shape people's opinion by leading them to think a certain way. Because when it boils down to it, social media is a tool, it's a medium, but I think its effectiveness is not just about the content or the message that it still delivers. Most of the time, it's also about the tool itself and how it complements, elevates, and sometimes regulates the message, what to show or what not to show to different groups of audience. Now, I think leading people to think a certain way is nothing new. What's new is just how easy it is to do that now and how automated the system has become. You come up with an idea, you press a few buttons on your social media platform, and your idea will reach the right people in an instant. When people see your idea and relate to it, that's the first step to influencing the people's opinion, exposure, and like you said earlier, personalization, hyper personalization. That's something that's going to work out in a long time. And I think those of us who work in the relevant industries have a responsibility to make sure that, in changing or in shaping people's opinion, when we provide a platform where ideas and information are being exchanged freely, these ideas do not lead to misinterpretation or misinformation or any sort of vulnerability on the user's end. I think we have that much of a responsibility. And I think it certainly becomes our responsibility too, that the people we choose to speak on behalf, or the people that we choose to represent our platform, also represents the right ideals, and they ultimately become somewhat of our first line of defense when it comes to creating the kind of community or the kind of impact that we want to have on the people's opinion and the people's voice in their pursuit of learning and deepening, in which, in our case, their investment knowledge. So I think the most powerful way that the social media shapes the society's opinion is by making sure the message, whatever it is, reaches the right audience. Because I think with the wrong audience, it doesn't really matter because it won't stick. But with the right audience, more often than not, it is bound to trigger a response. And that response will have ultimately depended on just how effective the digital media or the social media you use to deliver this message.
So what I'm hearing is you're striving for a little bit of like-mindedness, but also underpinning this will be trust. Communities of interest, but you're it seems like a trust framework, because there isn't misinformation out there, like you said, and what you're trying to do is deliver good quality content and protecting what I hear, the integrity of the information that you provide to your community.
Yep, certainly, because it's so easy to not do the right thing. I think it's just as easy to spread misinformation as it is to spread information. So I think we have to do everything we can to make sure that our platform enables or disables that.
Right. That's actually really really compelling. Thank you. Alfie, just a question for you. What are you seeing in terms of, with everything you heard just now from Danny, Eric, and Aji, what are some of the upcoming trends that you're finding in the market?
Thank you, Dustin. Yeah, interestingly as well, we recently published like a prediction report on the key trends of like media and technology in 2022. And I'm just like going to share some of the high impact or like highly relevant trends to the Southeast Asia, to Indonesia. And the first one that I can think of is the super app. As you know, like super app is not new. It's not like something that we only heard like in the last few months. It can cover various capabilities, transactional areas. But one of the key features that we believe application providers will consider is e-commerce capabilities. We are seeing this trend in many other markets, such as like WhatsApp. They are adding the WhatsApp Pay in India. TikTok and Twitter also plan to add shopping capabilities. This may still not be relevant yet, but we believe in Indonesia, with high mobile internet users, and the low banking population, the led e-commerce adoption, super app can be very successful in Indonesia. And what's interesting is this relates to various underlying technologies, such as cloud analytics, payment gateway, as shared by Eric earlier. And also, if you look at the availability, flexibility, scalability, as is discussed earlier as well, this will be the key consideration and differentiators for the app providers to consider in the market. And the second trend that we are seeing, which we believe will be big in the Southeast Asia, is mainly on content, not just on like a book, but this is more on the content in general. Because I mean, like last year, like this year, we saw Netflix launch Netflix Gaming. I mean, like it was a bit unexpected, but it is very innovative. But based on our observation as well, we are seeing that is just the beginning of a new trend where many big or the over-the-top giants, content giants, will start to diversify their business. This is because we can see that the competition among these over-the-top giants are increasing. So the subscribers are starting to stagnate in the next few years. So they're looking for new revenue streams, and this will eventually change the overall media landscape across different markets, including Indonesia. So in the next few years, we can expect big players such as Netflix or even like Facebook and other companies to further diversify their business, and they could also enter the niche business for example, in Indonesia. And the last one is, of course, like it won't be complete if we don't talk about metaverse. Everyone is talking about it now. I'm sure we all know what is it about. But just to be sure that we are all aligned, it is a virtual world where users share experiences and interact in real time within simulated scenarios. We're still in the very early stages, but we know this is likely to happen. Like major technology companies are openly adding their investment in this technology. So some of the early use cases that we expect to see within the next few years will be gaming. Gaming will likely be a starting point for many providers. But we see the commercialization is still very far. But media and internet companies should already start planning adding the metaverse into the roadmap and start working with their technology partners to develop solutions, to develop the technology. So those are the three key trends that I see will happen in the next few years. And of course, further to that, because of the wider adoption of applications of media, we are also seeing data privacy will become key theme in 2022 as well. There will be like a fragmented data regulation. We are also seeing that regulators will take a bigger initiative to regulate data privacies across different applications.
Well, thank you, Alfie. Quite a lot there. So if I'm to contextualize everything I just heard and try to apply it to NovelMe and Oval, I'm probably hearing two things. Your company will diversify. You'll be doing more products, more capabilities. You'll be integrating into some of the bigger trends that are happening in the market. And then things like this, like metaverse, are going to probably elevate and amplify the customer experience in some way to be determined. Which kind of leads me to the last question a little bit. What are the strategies out there to secure your users and to ensure that smoothness of customer experience? We could answer it from what Alfie just said, but wrapping up what I heard all during the session, we heard about the trust of content. We heard about hyper-personalization, reach, performance, availability of information through the solutions that Eric does. Putting this all together, what does it really mean for you? I'll start with Aji, if that's okay, and then I'll go to Danny next.
Okay. So for NovelMe, the strategy will be the first one will be content most of all, because we are a content platform. So what I see is they're talking about content. There are two kinds of contents. Like we need high quality content. Why? Because when we have quality content, the user is willing to pay more. And the second one is the diversity and the collection of the content itself. So when we have more content, then there will be more engagement from the user, from the content side. And second is like from the infrastructure. So experience with Alibaba itself, I think it is very good, because Alibaba is providing the server not only in Indonesia but outside Indonesia. So when we are serving the customer from Indonesia, we can pick the server from Indonesia, and we can serve with better connection, with less lag. And when is our customer from outside Indonesia, maybe some migrant worker in Philippines or in Saudi Arabia, also can access NovelMe content. They can read it, and yeah, it's one of smooth experience. And the other is maybe I will add for the content side, maybe the rich content that contains the video, the audio, and also the text is very interesting, right? It's very engaging from the user side, but from the delivery side, it's very painful, especially in Indonesia because of the demography. So yeah, maybe it's very good to see the moving pictures, but it's not good for the user because they cannot watch it anyway. Maybe we can watch it in big cities, but what about in very remote areas? They can accept only text. They can accept maybe a few graphics, small graphics. They can see pictures, but in a very compressed way. So in this way, we as a content provider, we need to mix and to provide the correct formula, like Alex.
Yeah.
We need to see who is our target audience, who is our user. If it is big cities, maybe we can provide them with videos, but not in rural areas. It's not possible for them. Their entertainment is just, and that's why I think NovelMe have a great audience because it's for everybody. We are doing only text, and it's for everybody, even in the remote area.
Right. Well, that's interesting. There is something to look into. There's diversity of local access options, the last mile, the bottleneck, and we do see a lot of satellite coming to the fore. And that has not been the case previously. That might help you in remote areas. I know just across the pond, the ditch over in the Northern Territory in Australia, that's what they're doing across the sea going south. But there's other options too, of course. Danny, just to move to you next, what strategies do you see in your company to ensure a successful customer experience?
Yeah, we spent a lot of time, effort, and resources on building a strong pre-launch demand because, like most startups, well, we want to hit the ground running when the product goes live. And even before the customer experiences our app, we want to make sure that the pre-app experience is just as pleasant or intuitive for them.
Yep.
From getting to know the app, from social media or from word of mouth, to what it offers, how it helps them, and how they can be a part of it. It was important for us that we could gauge the incoming traffic. So, I think practically we can make sure every end of our business is ready, especially our tech infrastructure and our manpower, cloud, CRM, database servers, and our manpower like developers, testers, engineers, and how much that'll all cost. So from our growth point of view, we focused on getting as many people on the wait list pre-launch as possible. In fact, before the startup launches, I think the majority of your marketing expenditure is and should be spent on building a product waitlist, because to me, that's basically the closest thing you'll have to estimate your pre-launch demand. And the majority of this is done through social media. So I'm not surprised at all when Alfie said earlier that Indonesian corporations and businesses are taking the use of social media to another level. This was important for us because we wanted to have a list of, I call it like half committed users who have heard of the product, who have seen the product, whether social media or website, who have gotten a sense of what it is and how it applies to them, and spent the time to actually write down their names and email addresses and register it on the wait list. So when the product is live, we go back to that list and we send them all links to download the app, and to make sure they don't forget about us between the time they got on the wait list and by the time the app is ready for download. We have to keep them engaged. We've got a list, thousands of email addresses. So send them weekly updates and keep them warm. And obviously, I think we all understand the importance of data and how much our operations and leads leverage on that. And I do believe that capturing these early, relatively easy, but heavily scalable leads is the most important thing, and is a very easy step when it comes to securing your users and your early adapters. And I also think that our customers are our best and cheapest sales agents. So like most startups with, well, sometimes disposable financial capital, we need to utilize them. Our product appeals to both the users, which are the content consumers, and the influencers and the key opinion leaders, the content providers. So we have to maximize their reach as well. So we created a competition. This is one of our marketing campaigns. It's called the waitlist race. Basically, when you get on the waitlist, you're ranked in the order you registered. When you successfully get a friend to get on the waitlist, you go up a place. 2 friends, 2 places up, 3 friends, 3 places up, and so on. And so you end up in the top 20, and then you get prizes. I think these are simple marketing campaigns and incentives to give out. But essentially, when it comes to securing your users, you got to know how much you're looking at and how to reach your ideal target audience.
Okay, and so if I recap this, what I thought I heard was there's a focus on maybe creating the minimal viable product, getting something out there quick. Obviously agile methodologies over waterfall. Probably some focus on really accelerating your development cycles, and which speaks to minimal viable product. Engage your customers early and often, and do things like gamification to increase the whole customer engagement between yourselves and your customers. Get them to advocate your brand, and gamification also means a reward system if they're promoting it the way that you want it to be promoted, to give you that product development or that pipeline for those that are going to come onto your new products, your next gen products. Would that be accurate, Danny? I just want to make sure I capture that correctly.
That would be it, basically. Yeah. And I'm glad you mentioned gamification, because I think gamification is one of the easiest way to raise engagement. And I think for startups, for relatively new products, MVPs, engagement is key. And some engagement is always better than no engagement. So I think gamification, like the reward system and everything like that, it's a very simple and relatively low cost if you look at it, the bigger picture. Giveaways, and I'm sure the social media people, they have like all kinds of creative ideas about this. But I think many things that we do over the social media platforms are much cheaper than if we invest in ads or like a very sophisticated marketing advertising campaign, which would cost hundreds of millions of rupiah within certain period amounts. And you can basically, well, not achieve the same thing, certainly not, but I think early engagement for MVPs and early launches, that would be it.
Okay, well, thank you, Danny. That's really insightful. And Eric, the same question to you is, and just to close this off, the same question on customer experience and what you think you need to do to kind of secure your users and ensure a smooth customer experience and journey.
Thank you, Dustin. Yes, so it's very excited to share about this earlier, talk about challenges, right? And then now probably what's the strategy, right, from Alibaba Cloud, right? For us, but what we are going to focus and what we help our customers to provide a one-stop solutions for everything, right? We talk about probably earlier we talked about infrastructures, right? Yes, we do have an infrastructure, the core services, our core services like goes almost 100% availability, right? And we have a storage data which is in this very secure environments, right? We help our customers to speed up the data, for their strategy to go to the markets, right? Because we have all the flexibility, payments kind of things, like a flexibility to scale up the servers and everything. Right, but we don't stop at this point, right? Everybody probably has this, right? When we talk about infrastructure, we can give you infrastructures, right? You can build up everything what you want, right? Then stop there, right? But for us, no, because when I say that I talk about one-stop services, right? Then meaning that we provide beyond that, right? Not just the home, right? Let's say these examples, right? There we have a technology like content delivery network or streaming services, right? This is where allows the remote areas users, right? The users in the small islands, right? Able to connect to the source in very low latency or with very fast connections, because we invested a lot of infrastructures, not just in the core cities, but we put it in the remote areas where it's closer to the users in the remote areas or remote provinces, right? And then this is to help, right? To help with the distributions, right? And when we talk about earlier, I talked also about the getting the right audience, getting the right topics for the right audience, and then competitions, right? Understand the trend, the markets, right? We do provide a big data and machine learning systems, right? Where this allows our customers, right, to collect the data, combine into one, and process it. Right, process it become from the raw data, some dirty data probably, right? They can process it, so it become a clean data, right? And from here they can use that data to analyze, right, the market trends, and then what's the preference of their customers, even their own customers, right? They know their own customers, right? So the last thing is we also provide interconnections, right? We are very flexible, right? We can build interconnections between the various vendors, partners. This is where we allows you to build connections with payment gateway examples, right? That's very common, right? When you do a business, you want to have a payment because you need to monetize it, right? And this, we allow you to build these interconnections, right? And yeah, we do have all these services we provide. We make sure that you can do everything in Alibaba clouds. Yeah.
Great. Well, it's about pulling it all together, and it's not just that satellite thing I made reference to, but it's actually having content distribution networks, nodes on the ground, and helping with caching and duplication, so you get that superior user experience. And then the layers on top of it, what I heard of like AI, for example, to help with that hyper personalization. But AI is having many use cases. It predicts potential outages in the network, which is important for availability and user experience. There's so much to talk about here. Thank you, Eric.